Yes. Good morning, everyone. This is Lorena calling with JD Lendings.
And I'm John Barcelo with Optiana.
So I have a very interesting subject today that a lot of realtors are going to want to know about, and we are going to talk about the differences between FHA and conventional appraisals. And I have a really good example for you about a transaction that we're in the process of doing right now, and I wanted to show you a prime example of how it works. So I have printed the page for the appraisal that talks about the value and that talks about the comparables. As you know, in the United States, the appraisals are based on the sales comparables of the neighborhood, and they use the closest and the most similar according to the area, the room count, the bathroom count, and the condition of the property, and some other factors that my friend John will be able to tell you because he's the expert on this subject. But this transaction specifically, the purchase price was $350. And it was an FHA loan since the beginning. This is important to say because sometimes we find situations where the customer starts as a conventional loan and then they go to FHA. This is not the case. This started as an FHA loan, which means that all the parties knew that it was an FHA transaction. So when we received the appraisal as an FHA loan, we got an appraisal for $280,000. So it came $70,000 less than the purchase price. And of course, the reason why we were going FHA is because the borrower had a lower credit score. It was around the 660s. So it was more convenient for him because of the interest rate and the PMI, the mortgage insurance, to go FHA. It made sense. But when we got this appraisal, and I talked to the leasing agent, and I found out that there were some additions to the property, an extra room and an extra bathroom that were not permitted. So basically, they did the additions without permits. Then we have had a few classes with John regarding this difference. Can you please tell us what is the main difference?
Yes, the reason and the dramatic difference in the values of these two different appraisals is not the loan type, but what the appraiser is allowed to consider. The original appraisal done on FHA, the home's only 2-bedroom, 1-bath, 720 square feet. With conventional loans, you're able to include those addition areas so long as they're completed in a professional and workmanship-like manner and match the rest of the subject property or similar to the subject property. They can count the extra bedroom, the extra bathroom, the GLA, the square footage, without having a permit. So the FHA appraisal is a 2-bedroom, 1-bath, 720 square foot home, where the comparables, the highest sales range was $349,000 in the entire market. When it went conventional, now it's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,017 square feet. The appraiser is able to expand his search up to homes probably 12 to 1,300 square foot range. And now the high end of the value range is $433,000. So literally the GLA, the extra bedrooms, the extra bathroom equated to a $50,000 difference in appraised value.
Yeah, so the day that we got this appraisal for $280 and we knew that we were at risk of losing the transaction, the same day I did a risk score simulator and I told the borrower to pay a couple of credit cards so we could raise his credit score to 700 so he could get a better rate, better PMI. We switched them to conventional and we ordered a conventional appraisal right away, knowing that these additions, the one extra room and bathroom could be taken in consideration in the conventional appraisal but not in the FHA. We ordered the appraisal and guess what? The new appraisal as a conventional came at $330, which is $50,000 more than the FHA appraisal. So now, this is not to discourage any listing agent to accept FHA transactions. This is not at all. It's just to let you know that if the home that you're listing has any additions that were done without the permit, most likely the appraiser is not going to be able to count the full area or the full additions. And this is a big difference on the price because it modifies the comparables that can be taken in consideration, correct?
That's absolutely correct.
So now with $330, this is acceptable. We got a price reduction and then we're going to continue with the transaction. This is something that can be done. Not everybody will know or will have the tools to do it, right?
That's right.
But it is important for people to know the differences between the appraisal. Now, other than that, are there any other differences on FHA and conventional appraisals?
Yeah, there's a few differences. The FHA programs mandate safety and soundness requirements. So the most important thing about the subject property that you want to make sure of if you're a listing agent is that the property is of the proper condition to be sold FHA. You can't have any broken glass. You can't have chip paint. You can't have broken sidewalk steps. Anything that could be considered a safety hazard will immediately be flagged by the appraiser, and it will have to be corrected prior to closing. I mean, things as simple as sliding doors that don't open freely, right? There's a hitch in a sliding door, and you have to lean into it really hard to get it open. That's a safety issue. In an emergency, that can't happen. You've got to be able to have free open door. So just use that as your thought process when you're looking at the property. If you don't have any of those issues, it's in good condition, the deferred maintenance has been kept up very well, you'll have absolutely no issue with an FHA or a USDA loan. Condition, safety, and soundness are the things that you have to pay attention to, in addition to unpermitted additions. FHA simply will not allow them.
But if the property has not had any illegal additions and is in good condition, the property value should not suffer, correct?
No. We use the exact same comparables, right? It just, the characteristics of the property is what the appraiser is looking at. The loan type has nothing to do with the comparables that we are looking for. The actual subjects, size, what we call amenities, their size, their location, garage, or carport, or whatever the amenities may be, we're judging the comparables based on those. Loan type has nothing to do with it.
Okay, and then one more question. What about bars in the windows? They have to be removed or have a release lock mechanism, right?
That's exactly correct. You must
and
have.
That's for both FHA and conventional?
Yes, that is safety across the board. And again, it goes back to my other example. If there's a fire in the middle of the night, you can't have to stop and look for a key to open the lock to get out of the gate. There's got to be an emergency release.
And what about hazard issues left outside of the property? Like, let's say there's an old boat or like some
Yes.
debris.
Yeah, that speaks, old paint cans,
Yes,
things like debris, clutter. I mean, to the point of safety and soundness, if the vegetation is grown up against the walls of the house 6 feet and they haven't cut they're not maintaining the yard, that's gonna be a safety issue. You could have rodents in there, you could have bug infestation into the foundation or to the crawl space. So, those are the kinds of physical things that you have to look for.
Is there going to be a difference between conventional and FHA regarding that? Is conventional going to be a little bit more flexible or no?
A little bit, but again, if you're talking about, like hazardous materials, no, they're going to be just as stringent as FHA. I mean, if it's a little pile of wood debris and some stuff, that's one thing. But if you have a back shed with 30 paint cans in it and some acetone and maybe some wood thinner or lacquer thinner, and those are all very hazardous materials. So those are going to have to be removed or cleaned up or secured, to make it safe.
Okay, and then lastly, what advice would you give to a lot of the investors that we have regarding what will be the best way to increase your property value as far as doing renovations? Is there anything that is more valuable than other renovations, or extending the gross living area, or making some additions? What would you think will make a difference for a property more towards your money when you're an investor?
In my opinion, and what I've seen in 31 years of my real estate career is really two things. Functional use of the property, right? How do you access the living room, the kitchen, the family room, right? How does the house lay out? Houses that are laid out well have open concepts, cathedral ceilings, central gathering spaces, and then divided bedrooms for parents and children or second generation. In my experience, typically those sell quicker and at the highest rate versus a ranch with 8-foot flat ceilings, right? And then the second thing is kitchens and bathrooms. It is absolutely my 30-year experience that updates to kitchens and bathrooms are what sells houses, right? Because, my wife picked the house that we bought, right, Lorena? And she picked it based on what we were able to do with that kitchen and the bathrooms and the state that they were in addition to location, of course, right? But if you are an investor, you want to make a good impact, don't skim on the kitchens and bathrooms. Don't cut corners. Do them right. Do the electrical, do the plumbing right. You're gonna get the highest yield that way.
And you just mentioned something about closing space. So will it have an effect on the price when you close an area to make it like an efficiency or a mother-in-law suite?
Yes, because if you have to be able to, functional utility, you have to be able to get to all of the living space from one entry door, right? From either a front or back entry door. So if you have to leave the house and go outside to go into another door, that can't be counted in the square footage of the house, right? That in-law suite is now, it's a separate living space if you've done that.
So if you ever order an appraisal and you have done that, you pretty much have to open it up if you want it to be counted on the gross living area.
That's correct.
Right?
You can have a separated space inside the home so long as you can get to it from inside the home. The caveat is when you block that access and you have to go outside to get in. That is a problem. Now it's a duplex. You've literally created a duplex and you have to have, it has to be zoned.
We've seen triplex, fourplex,
quadplex.
Yeah. We've seen quite interesting.
Well, we've seen quadplexes.
Not permitted, not allowed in the neighborhood, correct?
I think the best one I got was a fourplex in central Tampa that they had installed a shed from Home Depot in the backyard and converted that to a living unit. They had 5 rentals.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that one didn't go through for some reason.
Oh my God, that's crazy.
It's a crazy market.
Okay, and then last question before I forget.
Sure.
What do you think about the prices? Like, it's crazy, right? The appreciation volume?
Yeah, I mean, it's, having been through the buying process myself 4 months ago, I had to pay full price for a house that needed renovation or I wasn't gonna get it. Right?
Right.
And my son is in the process of buying a house right now, and he's in the exact same boat. Like in his price point, he and his realtor set 7 appointments Saturday, and by the 3rd appointment, the other 4 all had offers.
Yes. And then people are offering above a price value, right? Is that going to affect the prices of all the properties? Like people who come from the north and they bring like $30,000, $50,000, $80,000 to put above appraised value, is that going to affect the market? Is it going to?
That's the definition of market growth, Lorna. That's how the market grows.
So basically, like Miami is gonna be here.
We're already darn close. We're 3.1 million people in the Bay Area. We're only 1 million short of the Miami major market right now. We're moving 600 people a month are moving in to the state, and 25% of them are coming here to Tampa. So. Our market will be a top 10. I think we're 18 in the MSA demographic right now. We'll be top 10 in 5 years, without a doubt.
What would you tell to somebody that is waiting for the market to crash?
You better stop waiting.
Get on the train now because it's going to continue to go up. Well, because you're always going to have to pay rent, right?
That's exactly right.
And if you don't jump on the train now, you don't take advantage of the appreciation for these years to come. And their interest rates keep going up, so like you're losing a big opportunity, correct?
I'll tell it this way, right? So I graduated high school in 1986. We lived at 164 East Davis Boulevard. My mom bought that townhouse when I was 15. She paid $164,000 for it, right? I'm 53, so that was, 38 years ago. They're $1 million now.
Oh my God.
$2 million. She advised that I buy a house in Hyde Park. And at the time, those houses were about $300,000. The huge Key Westers with the wraparound patios. And I'm looking at $300,000 thinking in like the, late 80s, early 90s, Mom, that's a mansion. I could never buy that. I should have followed her advice and sold my soul to get one of those, because you can't buy one of those houses for less than $2.5 or $3 million right now. And I love you, we wouldn't be having this conversation, right?
Yeah.
Because I'd be very wealthy. Don't wait, don't wait. We're not piping in any more dirt. We're not in Dubai. We're not gonna build any islands. There's only so much land here. It's only going up. And this market, I'll leave it with this. This market is completely different than the boom market for one very simple reason that you just stated. People aren't getting these houses on inflated credit with no skin in the game. When the thing comes in 50 grand short and they write a check for $50,000, they bought their equity.
Yes.
They are paying for their
Yes.
equity, and they're paying for the market increase for their neighbors, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
shake their hand and thank them, and then make sure that they stay in our Florida mindset. Don't bring that New Jersey.
Exactly. That's a very interesting statement, because they're not inflated in vain. It's not
No.
imaginary. It's sustained. It's a sustained growth that they're paying for it. It's
Exactly.
already paid for.
You think someone that put $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 over and above asking price is not going to do everything they can to take care of that property? Is not
Yes.
going to show the utmost in pride and ownership? And they bought their equity, so heaven forbid a job goes south or something goes south. They've got the room that they need to go get a HELOC or go get an emergency
Yes.
to help them
Yes.
through, right?
Yes.
So you're putting your money in a house savings account instead of Bank of America savings account, in my
Yes.
humble opinion. And it's gonna appreciate far faster than they're gonna pay you interest.
Well, thank you so much for all the information. Very interesting. Do we have any questions? Not at all. Okay, perfect. Any questions? Let me know. Lorena calling JD Lending, ZFLS 389-462, phone number 561-777-5355.
And I'm John Barcelo with Option Appraisal. Thank you guys so much for tuning in.
Thank you.